Hey guys, and welcome to episode 3 of Paranormal Activities with your host, Ben Axe, and the returning, amazing, wonderful guest, Dena Axe.
Hello. That's how you need to greet me every morning.
Is that right? Well,
yes, when you first wake up.
To be fair, typically you wake up first.
That's true.
And you're downstairs before I get up.
That's
true.
true.
Granted, we both get up at like 4:30 in the goddamn morning. But
one wishes.
So hey, so if you did not listen to episode 2, you really should.
This is a continuation.
This is a continuation. Like, I don't, like, my whole point of this show is I'm not going to try to make it like you have to listen to them all. Episodic, but this one it is. This is
right.
Part 2 of this interview.
Right.
So yeah. So please listen to episode 2 before you continue. So if you have not listened yet, stop. Go back.
There you
listen.
go.
And I'm going to wait for you. All right, you're back.
And go.
So here we are. So you're back.
Yes. Hello.
And so we'll just keep going.
Okay.
So the 2016 apartment shit happened.
2015
apartment stuff happened. Your brother owes me PS3.
Yes.
Yeah, I could just buy a new hard drive or just buy a new PlayStation, but the hard work that I put in for years of the saved games is gone forever.
It is gone forever.
So you're to blame for that, kind of.
Kind of. That's true.
Like there was memory that happened before I met you.
Yeah. That
is now gone. That probably would still be there if I never met you. How do you feel about that?
Proud of my brother.
Nice.
Proud of the strength of my little brother. That's how I feel about that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That is really cool.
It's pretty epic.
Yeah, it's something. I mean, it's just...
I just feel just like very protected everywhere I go. You know,
hey.
Like I feel like I should kick every door in now. You know, not open them. Kick them in.
There you go. I mean, now it's just basically that's what it is. Like he's like Stone Cold Steve Austin, just walking in, glass breaking.
Like blam.
That's my PlayStation. Boom. That's my water heater. Boom.
Boom. I've been carrying around a lot of stress with work here recently, and after talking about him and being my guardian, I feel like, fuck that. I'm gonna kick the door in on Monday and just go in there.
There you go.
Own it.
Yeah, that's the way life should be, regardless whether you have a ghost brother bodyguard or not. You know? I mean,
just kick the door in.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll keep moving on. So I mean, we have years worth of events.
We got things to pack in.
That story took an hour, and I did not think it would take an hour.
It was surprising.
So, and that's only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what you primarily have to say and what I've witnessed and been a part of.
Right.
So we'll keep moving along. So we got together. That happened in the fall of 2015. We hung on that apartment. And in that apartment, after that, really not a whole lot happened. It was pretty calm.
Yeah.
And then we moved in together.
Right. Into another apartment.
November of 2016. You and I got a little bit more serious. Had a hell of a time in that apartment, though.
Yeah.
Sleeping on a futon.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny. I mean, this is off topic a little bit, but fuck it. It was cool because, you know, all of the people say, you know, there's always a futon story.
There is. We had futon stories.
We have a futon story. We're part of that group.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a futon story. You didn't live there.
I didn't live there.
But
I practically lived there.
You stayed there a lot, and you slept with me on the futon when you had your own bed at home.
Yeah. You're welcome. And I gave you a futon after you broke your futon. I gave you a futon.
We broke the futon.
You. I wasn't there when it finally bit the dirt.
But so there that apartment has a lot of like fun stories and stuff.
It does.
But nothing ghost related, so we'll move on.
Right.
And so then we moved into our own place in November of 2016. And the significance about this is you have a lot of stuff from your family that you brought into the apartment.
I do.
Primarily the table that we used to podcast
my kitchen table.
Yeah.
Yes, the kitchen table. That's my step-grandmother's kitchen table. It's an antique. I mean, it's...
From the 70s. Right?
No, like the 50s.
Oh, your stepdad had it in the 70s or
50. It's a 50s.
Okay, 50s. I don't remember.
Yeah, no, this thing is from the 50s.
All right, so we moved in this apartment. I mean, it's a
It's a Formica table. It's, you know, like It's an antique table.
I got you. I just didn't know the years. I had no idea.
Right.
Time to me doesn't mean a whole lot. I remember when I was in school.
And it's green, and I love it. It's beautiful, and she had it, and I remember every time I went to her house, just falling in love with that table, and I was looking at variations of that table at antique malls. They sell them, for like $100 or whatever, and I was like, I want that, I want that, I want that. And my mom told her, this is, Dena wants one of these tables. And so she told my mom, when it is time, that will be for Dena. And when it was time, it was mine.
And it was.
It's something that makes everybody happy because, everybody's got their kitchen table, right?
Right.
And I didn't have a kitchen table at the time, and then she gave it to me, and now it's mine. And they're all like, I'm so glad you have that and that it stayed in the family. And that's such a blessing to hear because it's step family, but they say that, and it's like, I don't know. But that's not going anywhere.
No,
that's mine until we die, and
Sure.
then it'll go to one of our grandchildren or whatever. So.
I mean, fuck our kids. Their kids can have it though.
Right. Yeah. I don't think my kids will appreciate it, but my grandchildren will. So
Right.
I'm a grandchild and I inherited it. I will give it to a grandchild.
And when I said fuck our kids, it's imaginary kids. As
we don't have kids yet.
For you who don't listen or who don't know us, but
yeah.
So it is an old tables in the family, and it has history to it.
A lot of history.
And and a lot of. Nah, that's not the right way to word that, but. One of the ways that ghosts make themselves presence or stay in a certain place is they connect themselves with
to the
objects. And
I do have a lot of... It's kind of funny that you point that out because being a product of divorce, multiple divorces, multiple remarriages, multiple homes, I do have a lot of things. I collect a lot of things.
Right.
From all of the different aspects of my life. I mean, I have our coffee table. That was my great-grandmother's. I actually have a lot of stuff there from my step-grandma. I didn't realize. But I loved her, respected her role in my life. And so I have a lot of items from grandmas in my house. Afghans, quilts, furniture, guitars.
Sure. So moving along here. So we moved into a one-bedroom apartment.
Yes.
And we live in Ohio, which is one of the most... It's claimed
like
to
the
be
most haunted state.
It is, and there's a lot of stuff going on here in Ohio for whatever reason. I don't know what that's about.
I don't either.
It's also the only state right now that's trying to fight the coronavirus. What I read earlier, but whatever. But
anyway.
So and we live right off 75 there in Middletown, Ohio, which is also kind of a haunted city. If you look it up, I've looked it up.
Yeah.
There's some stuff going on there. So we moved in this apartment, and this is the first time you and I officially lived together. However, we were pretty much together all the time for a year prior. But now we have all this old stuff. And when I lived alone, I had nothing in that place. So
it is true.
So we have some old stuff now. And the story that I remember, one of the first things that had happened, and at this point, I was pretty shut off from ghost stuff too. From events that I experienced living with my ex before you. There's a whole ghost story there that
you've talked about.
I've talked about, not on the show yet. I will later on probably.
Yeah.
But whole thing there. But after that, I closed myself off. I said, fuck it. I'm out.
No more.
And when I say that, just to help you guys kind of understand what I'm saying, if you haven't felt ghost or felt that, fuck it. I was really into ghost stuff and paranormal stuff my entire life.
You used to be always excited by it.
I was excited about it. I was into it. And then it went down, and I said, you know what?
This is real.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm done. And I was closed off for about 2 years. And then, and I'm not a celebrity. I'm one with the words, even though I do podcasts. But Chris Jericho, you guys may have heard of. He's a professional wrestler and has a podcast. I know you're over here smiling. But he put it in a perfect way as well. He said the exact same thing that I'm saying right now. He was on a show with ghost hunters or whoever the fuck it was. He was in some ghost show in New Orleans. And he was also excited, into it, blah, 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 blah. And then he did something. I don't know the whole story. Go back to his podcast.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
He does a show. He talks about it a little bit on his show, which is Talk is Jericho. Look it up. It's pretty awesome. But he said he took a machete and stuck it into the ground. And something happened. I don't know what. It's not my story to tell. But after that, he said, this is real.
I'm not doing this anymore.
That was wrong. I'm done. It wasn't fun anymore. That's how he words it.
Yeah, because he described it as this was something that he was really, really, really tuned into, and then bam, never again.
It's not fun. I'm out.
It's a real thing.
That event happened, and that same thing happened to me.
It's not entertainment anymore.
Right.
Right.
And so for a couple of years, I was kind of closed off. And right now, my perspective has changed, and I'm going into it.
Which I appreciate, because when we started dating, you have to remember, we started dating after my brother had been passed for 2 years.
Right.
So my relationship with it was very serious.
Sure.
Whereas yours was entertainment based.
It was.
And mine was, this is real, and these are people.
Sure.
So I appreciate that you're
right. And it's taking
that you're here now.
Sure. I mean, and my whole perspective has changed, and I'm going into this again, but different.
Seriously.
Right. So I feel like that was a really long way to get into this next story, but it needed to be said.
Anyway.
So take it, So I remember one night, so here's this story, basically. The first story that I remember from us living together was when we were living together. We had that table in the dining room.
Yeah.
And our apartment was a one bedroom. It was this basic setup. It was the living room, a kitchen, the bedroom, and one long hallway connecting all of them.
Connecting it all. Yeah.
And we talked about this the next day, but that night I woke up and I heard a tap on the table.
So did I.
And
on the leg of the table.
And I can't replicate it because this is a plastic table that I have now.
But it was like if you were clicking a wedding ring onto an aluminum leg of a table.
Basically, it's just taking metal on metal tap.
Yeah.
But metal.
Yep.
And I woke up and I heard that. I was like, that's weird. It was just a constant.
Yep.
And I look, because like I could, if I looked over, I could see into the hallway, into that room, and it would stop. And that was it. And then you heard the same thing the next day.
We talked about
it. Like, I don't know who brought it up first. I don't remember.
You did.
So there we go. So I brought it up, and then you're like, yeah, I heard it too.
Yeah.
So that's a story in itself.
Yeah.
And then you brought it up to your
stepdad. Yeah. He doesn't remember it, but when I described it to him in the detail that I felt it was happening in, he agreed with me that sounds about right.
Because
like his dad was sitting at the table,
paying
bills, reading mail.
That's what he said.
Clicking.
You told him that, and he was like, well, when I was a kid, that's what he would do. He'd be at the table paying bills or doing what he was doing, and that's, how people have their ticks.
Yeah.
That was his tick.
That was his tick. And I was like, I felt it, and it felt like a blessing, though. It felt like they were blessing our union, Me and you had just moved in together. We were taking our relationship very seriously. It was the first time that you and I had ever in our lives thought about marriage.
Yeah, I mean, we were older, too. I mean, we were, what, how old were we when we got married?
We were 29, 28.
Wait, it's not that much older.
I mean, but we were older getting into our relationship. We were like 20. We were 30 when we got married.
Okay, so we moved in together when we were 29?
We moved in together when we were 28, yeah. Because we were thinking and we started dating when we were like 27, so.
How old are we now? How old am I right now?
You're 30.
I'm 32. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I remember the conversation you and I had when we started dating again. It wasn't the first time we dated, but the second time we dated. You were like, we're adults now. We both know what we want, and we want to do this the right way. Okay. And there were things that I wanted to do to rush into or whatever, and you didn't want to because you were like, I want to do this the right way. And that every time that I wanted to fight with you, because I always wanted to fight with you.
Yeah, that still holds true.
It does. But you would always say, we're going to do this the right way, and we're not going to do the bullshit. You're not going to push me away. I'm not going to push you away. We're going to talk about this because this is the thing that's going to work. And you were so sure that we were going to last, and it freaked me out, but it calmed me down too, because it was like, oh, okay, well, if this is going to be my forever, then I can just be willy-nilly. And, it secures you, but it also scares you all at the same time. But that's what you did for me. You kind of tethered me and gave me wings all at the same time. And I feel like because we took our relationship so seriously, what we got was a blessing from this deceased party that was each other's soulmate.
Okay, so my rebuttal with this, not rebuttal, but my question, so you take it as that. You take it as it's his dad blessing our relationship.
It was not just his dad, it was his mom and his dad saying, I recognize in you what I had with this person.
Okay. So what I would take from that would be, or possibly another person like a ghost hunter or whatever. I hate that word hunter, but
anyway,
a person like that would take is well, that's just maybe that's not the case. Maybe that spirit is just connected to that table, and it's just residual energy tapping.
I don't think so, because me and you both heard it. And I heard it in a very specific way. I heard it in a domestic way. I heard it in a male taking care of his family.
And I feel like you're more in tune than I am, or a lot of other people that I've heard and listened to are. So,
I can hear specifics.
Right.
I hear on a. I feel like that's because of my brother being in the position he's in. You know, you don't. So it's kind of like, you know how you have a favorite radio station, right?
Right.
And you're driving down in this area, and you might get it, you might not get it. You don't know if you're going to get it or not, but you know if you hit seek back and forth on your stereo, you might catch it.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you have a deceased party that you're very, very close with, that it's like that. It's like tapping into that radio station kind of all the time.
I got you. It's like a radio wave. I understand.
Right. So it's like, because I can listen to him, and I can hear him, and I can feel him, and we can communicate with a lot of clarity, I think that also allows me to dial in and tune into other things with more clarity than maybe I would be allowed in other situations. And the reason that this is unique is because with a sibling, you have a shared mindset.
Right. That's fair. There's a connection there.
That you don't get with a parent or a partner. You know, like there are things with you that I share that are very unique to me and you that I would experience and go, this is very me and you. But I don't think that would allow me to hear and see other people, because from birth, what I have with my brother is that.
Makes sense.
This shared connection, this shared language. Whereas from 25, that's what I have with you.
Right.
So, you know, that's what's unique here. And so what I heard that night and felt that night was just this blessing. And when I explained it to Galen, he didn't disagree. And, you know, I think it gave him pause and reflection. But it wasn't a straight out no.
Maybe it's one of those things that it's just that specific when he was like, oh, yeah, you know, he did used to tap his ring on that table when he was doing stuff. I mean, that's a very specific thing that we didn't know. And he told us after we told him that.
I felt it. And I told him I felt that. And when I explained it to him, I think it caught him off guard. And I think that that's something that we kind of tapped into with the first episode, is that not everybody wants to hear certain things.
Sure. And that's from his childhood, which is harder to hear. You know, like...
Yes. And I grew up with a family that was very open and communicated all the time, and maybe he didn't.
Right. I didn't. So, like, I get that.
It gives you pause.
Right.
Right.
So it's yeah, I get that, and that makes it more real to me. The fact that he was like, that's my
strange.
dad, when I was a kid, my dad did that, and that's what we heard.
That's what we heard.
We heard the same shit he heard when he was laying in his bed when his dad was doing stuff at the table.
If somebody tried to tell me that it wasn't what I felt that day, I would very much argue the opposite, because how would you know better than me?
I agree with that.
I can feel it. You can't.
So that happened early on, and then also there was a time, I don't remember how this went down. I mean, we're talking years ago here. But you told me at one point that you felt an energy. I think I said it first. I was like, I think my grandma was in my apartment last night, or in our apartment last night.
Yeah.
And then you said, I don't know why I said it or why I felt it. I just feel an energy. That was my grandma. I'm very, I was very close to growing up, but I'm pretty cut off at the same time now. I don't deal with that. But I forever that day I remember feeling it, and then you were like, "Well, I felt a very busy energy in the apartment."
Yes.
And you're like, you didn't know what it was. But you just said I felt something that was running around cleaning shit or cleaning blinds and cleaning
the curtains.
Yeah.
She was shaking out the curtains a lot.
She
was opening the curtains.
And I was like, "Well, that's weird," because when I was a little kid, and you said that before. I just said I felt that, and you said you felt that
with the windows,
right? And I was like, "Well, when I was a kid, my grandma, she's in my house all the time, helped raise me and my sister basically, and all she did was clean all the time. She never sat down.
And she walked all the time everywhere.
Seeing her sit was a rarity. Like, she was very busy, very anxious.
moving.
Always moving.
Very moving.
All the goddamn time moving.
Yes.
Like, even when we were just, like, not doing anything, she was moving. So, like, she was clean all the time, even though if there's nothing there to clean, she was still cleaning. And it fit perfectly with that. Like, it made no sense. It was weird.
Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that.
That happened. Yeah, it was crazy. And so, like, again, I'm not very in tune with that. My sister, however, will bring her up all the time because she tries to be close and wants to be close and stuff. So she's very close with it while I'm
You try to remove yourself.
still removed, but, you know, maybe that will change. We'll see. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
But, so that happened in that same apartment.
Right.
That was like, you know, one of those things that you knew something.
I did know that.
Before.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I knew that before you said it. Yes. See,
Yep.
It's kind of like what I was talking about in the first episode, how I just
know stuff.
enter into a situation and I just kind of know things.
Right.
And I've always been able to do that.
I never told you that my grandma cleans stuff all the time.
No.
And you're just like, yeah, it was cleaning. And then she's like, well, that's weird that you say that she was cleaning because
She always cleaned.
my grandma always cleaned.
Yeah. And I remember telling you, and you tried to argue with me about
Well,
it.
sure.
You did. You argued with me about it. You were like, you know, I was like, well, what I felt was a cleaning, very busy. It was positive, but it was so busy. It was so fast. It was frantic. And you were not, you didn't want to hear it. And then, and I explained the window so many times that finally you were just like, it could be. It could be. It could be.
That sounds right. That sounds like me.
Yeah.
I will fight, and which I think is good because I also hate people who just
immediately latch on.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is.
I mean, you have to also be a skeptic.
You do.
Otherwise, you're gonna think everything's a ghost, and that just defeats the purpose.
Right.
So,
but I think it proved your skepticism.
It did, absolutely. You know,
Wrong.
I tried to argue and fight it.
Right.
So, but I mean, which is good. Otherwise, you know.
Right.
So that happened, and then also in that apartment, a situation happened that opened you up, I think.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that.
Yeah.
So while we lived together, also your mother committed suicide.
She did.
And that was a rough time.
While we were in the home.
Right, we were there, at the house, and that opened me up to what we kind of talked about in the last episode with that funeral bullshit. People coming out trying to be important.
Yes.
That's the point of this podcast, so it doesn't matter now. But
we did an episode about that in the Moose Point.
We did.
But yes.
So that was one of those times to where that I think made you I can't say that word.
Susceptible.
That word more. And I don't know the order of this what I'm about to bring up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But before you get there, you are correct because what I learned after Caleb passed away, Caleb died 4.5 years before my mother did, is that I wanted to stay open. And so in deciding to keep myself open, because I didn't want to lose a connection with my mother, I think it led to certain events, yes.
But there is a story. Again, that time period is kind of messy.
It all runs together, yeah.
But this was your brother that I want to talk about next.
Okay.
It was really weird. I don't know if it was before or after your mom died. I don't remember. But there was a time that we were hanging out in the living room, and I mean, we were drinking. I can't deny that, whatever. So if you guys want to think, so you're also just drunk, that's cool. Think that if you want to. But we were hanging out, and you just passed out on the chair.
This was after.
It was after. So I think it was like not too long after.
No, it was very shortly after because he was comforting me.
That's okay. So, and when I say passed out, I mean we had not been drinking hard.
No.
You know what I mean? Like I remember it very well, and if I was drinking hard, I would not remember it very well. But we drank a lot back then.
I mean, when you say that though, it's not like we were binge drinking every
night.
No,
we were like
we would
alcoholics.
have a couple drinks a night.
Sure.
You know, like we would have a beer or two after work.
Exactly.
Right.
I agree with that. That's very true. That's the way to word it.
Yeah.
But I remember that you fell asleep on the chair, and like
I was always tired.
you were
Everything
tired
made me so tired all the time.
All the time. So you fell asleep like, whatever. She fell asleep. It was early. I thought it was weird that it was that early.
The sun was still out.
And we were just sitting there, and then all of a sudden you put your hand up, and you put your hand up. It was weird, and I was looking at you, and I was like, "What is that about?" And I wasn't thinking ghost. I was thinking she's just sleep something.
Sometimes in my dreams, I'm at a Pearl Jam concert.
Yeah.
And sometimes I put my hands up.
And that happened. It hasn't happened lately, but you used to put your hand up, and you would. was it the Maestro?
Maestro.
The Maestro.
Just rock out.
You Maestro it, and it was weird. But so but this time you put your hand up, but you weren't Maestroing it. You just put your hand up, and then you stood up, and then you walked. It was like you were being escorted. It was like somebody took your hand, brought you up, and then walked you to the bedroom. Like you stood up with your hand up, like somebody was holding it. And your eyes were still closed, and you walked to the bed in the bedroom. And it reminded me, and this happened before the show, The Haunting of Hill House came out. This is 2017 still.
Oh, yeah.
But it reminded me of when, in
Yeah.
that show, when, what's her name?
The youngest twin.
Yeah, whoever
Yeah.
her name was. When she was in the house dancing by herself.
Yeah.
And they were showing both images of what she was seeing and what the reality was. It reminded me of her dancing with her dead husband.
Yes.
But again, this is a year before that show came out. Keep that in mind. This isn't me trying to copy that show. This was a year before that shit came out. So you stood up with your hand out, and then you walked to the bedroom. And I remember thinking, that's weird. And I tried to wake you up while you were walking, and
Did you touch me?
I did, and there was no reaction. You just walked. I was like, hey, I tried to shake you. Nothing. No, you walked to the bed, and then you sat down on the bed, and then you laid down on the bed, and then you rolled over and you were sleeping. And I was like, that was kind of weird.
I can kind of remember this.
And I was like, I didn't think ghost still. Still was thinking that's weird.
Yeah.
And then the next day, it came up, and you're like, I didn't come up yet. The next day we were talking. You're like, I remember talking to my brother last night.
Yeah. Dewey took me to bed.
And I was like, well, that's weird because you like walked yourself to bed, and you're like, because you thought it was a dream.
Yes.
You were like, I thought, I felt like Dewey like brought me to bed last night. I was like, that's exactly what, you walked yourself to bed, so I don't know what that was about. And then you're like, that's exactly what it was. Like he
tucked me in.
He said you need to go to bed now.
Yeah. Like, enough. You're sad.
Right.
Go to sleep.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And that's something that sticks with me because it was so.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. It was crazy. And then that was after your mother died. And then another time happened, and this is the one that I think you should probably tell. But where we were hanging out one night, and you just started hearing things talking to you.
Yes, I could. There was this pull on me, and it was weird. So that's what happens. Though, is like you can hear, and you don't want to drown anything out because you want to hear the things you want to hear. From the people not what you want to hear, but who you want to hear from. That's what you want. You want to hear from who you want to hear from, the people that you miss.
And from my experience, this was the first time you started hearing things from people that was not Dewey.
Right. Because I can always hear him.
Right. And you'd bring him up a lot before. There's all kinds of stories we could say, but there's just so many, there's no point.
Right.
But this was the first time
it wasn't him.
Was not Dewey, and you were telling me like I'm hearing this shit in my head,
and it's not.
And I was thinking, are you fucking schizophrenic?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's what schizophrenia is. but that's not the case. I didn't think that for real, but that's what the other people from the outside could probably think. And so yeah.
So we took Crowley and we went outside because I wanted to be outside so I could hear it better. Remember? We went outside.
Okay.
And I wanted to hear it, and I kept wanting to hear it, and I kept hearing it by, like, the trees. And then we went back inside, because you were like, that's enough, we're going inside now.
I remember getting annoyed and thinking, this is fucking stupid. We're in a populated area. It's nighttime.
Enough.
We're going inside now. I remember getting aggravated by it.
When we got back inside in the kitchen, I pulled up the obituary.
Yeah, because then you were just talking. You were just saying it's a woman, and her
hair bows. She had hair bows.
She used to play in these woods, and we lived in an apartment that had some woods, but obviously it was like modernized. A lot of those woods were torn down to make room for this apartment.
Right, and like a church.
Right, but there were still some wooded areas around there that they kept.
Yeah.
And you said that she used to play in these woods.
She lost a hair tie.
And she lost a hair tie in the woods, and that she just liked being there.
She did. She liked being a part of that. She wanted to be outside in the nature. But I could explain her the smell of the dirt, what she was doing, and her hair getting caught in the tree limbs because she would run through it, and twigs in her hair, and dried up leaves in her hair, and I could feel all of those things. That texture is what it kept doing.
So like it wasn't just her telling you; it was also, she's also showing you.
She was showing me, but so here's what ended up happening though with her specifically is she wanted me to talk to her brother. I always keep a channel open for my brother, and so it's like she was tuning into a language that I could understand.
Right.
She wanted me to talk to her brother. She was saying brother, a lot. And showing me these happy memories of being outside and playing outside in the woods and in the nature. So anyway, when I pulled up her obituary, it was because there was so much common language. She had a grandson, who had the same name that me and you picked out if we wanted to name our son.
Was it Harrison?
Yes.
I remember you saying that. Okay.
My stepdad's name is Galen, and she had a son named Galen. She had a brother that she really, really wanted to talk to that was a younger brother, and I have a younger brother, but I think her brother's name was Russell. But there was a lot of names in common and sounds in common. She was buried in a cemetery that had a very similar name to the cemetery my mom and brother are buried in. And, but she came to me because she wanted me to talk to her brother. And I had a channel open to hear my brother that I had learned to keep open since 2013.
Okay.
That specifically for him. And when she came through, it was very shocking because, family is so familiar that a lot of people say they don't hear from family or talk to family or they block out family because it makes them feel like a fraud, right?
Right.
Family is the only thing I want to hear and that I do hear. And I hear it.
And that's why we're the exact opposite. I don't want to hear family. You want to hear family.
That's all I want.
It's crazy.
That's the only truth I want. That's the only comfort I want. I want that, and that's all I want, and that's all. And most of the time, that's all I get. But sometimes they feel so far away. And after my mom had passed away, I wanted her so bad. Caleb came forward so quickly because he knew how lost I felt. As only a sibling would.
Right. Your mom always thought you were, independent, strong. She didn't think you needed her.
Yes. And my brother knew differently.
Right.
And I think sometimes my mom does not come to me out of guilt or out of her desire for me to be stronger, to stand on my own 2 feet.
Right.
But I wanted her so bad, and I think that when you put desire into the atmosphere like that, you will get desire back. And that's what happened that night.
But it wasn't your mom. It was somebody.
It was somebody else's mom.
And I remember, because here's what I remember from that. We went back inside, and you just kept talking about it. And I was like, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you were very annoyed with me.
Because I didn't want to have to deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean, it was fucking crazy at the time.
Yeah. And
I can admit that.
And you just kept saying, she's talking to me. She's saying this. She's saying this. She's saying this. And then you were saying things like, yeah, it makes sense.
That you can hear that.
Yeah, I was like, well, the shit that she was saying, like, yeah, whatever, this happens, and if you're open to it, then yeah, it's like, I believed in that ghost stuff. But then you're like, well, I need to go outside and look. I'm like, it's like 11:30 at night. We're not going outside in these fucking woods looking. We're not doing it. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna go. And then like you got up, you put your shoes, like you were very frantic about it. Like you were, something was driving you to do it. You could not do it.
Yes.
Like, typically, you would listen to me.
I was completely out of control.
Like, typically, you would listen to what I would say, and you would take it, and you're like, okay. But you were like, I'm going to go look.
Yeah.
With you, without you, I'm going. I had a fucking... Then, so you went, and then I chased after you. Like, well, I guess we're fucking going. So
yeah.
You weren't going to go by yourself. And I think you found the thing, didn't you?
I found the tree. It was a tree in the middle of the woods. Because it was a very wooded area.
Right.
It was a tree, and then before I could really kind of start digging into the earth, he pulled me away.
Like, we're gonna go now.
Yeah, but I found the tree.
Like, we're in the middle of the woods at 11:30 at night. I mean, it was it wasn't cold out, but
No, but it was 11:30 at night on like a fucking Wednesday.
yeah,
Like, I mean, it
so
wasn't
dumb. Yeah,
wasn't something that we should be doing. It wasn't a normal activity.
but you're
but
just saying. And then when you did it, you said it stopped. You were like, "She's cool." You said she said she wanted you just to see it.
that tree.
That's all it was. And
She just sat under that tree a lot.
yeah.
She wanted me to be there.
And then, like, I think after you were there, you're like, it relieved it from you or whatever. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Then we went back.
And that's when I could find her obituary.
Yeah. And then then you found her. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I found that after I touched, because I had to touch the tree, the trunk of the tree. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and there wasn't really anything special about it. It was like the root system. I needed to touch the roots. I don't there was something like the gnarly feeling, the way that felt under her feet. She just ran a lot there.
Yeah.
You know, that's all.
And back when that person was there, it was a whole wooded area.
It would have been a whole wooded area.
Well, at this point, it was just, a small wooded area.
There was a church behind that. She probably played in there after church.
Right.
Or
That's
before
true.
church or
Yeah,
whatever.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, it could have just been, whatever it was, but it was significant to her. And, that's all it was. But yeah,
as soon as you saw it, as soon as you were there, you're frantic and it was like an hour that you're in the apartment. Like, I need to go out there. And I was like, no. And then, okay. No, she's still talking. I need to. I went on for a while. Then once you did it, it was like, okay, I'm good now.
I'm going to go to bed.
It was so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't explain it. It's like somebody else's information is being injected into you,
Yeah.
That's what it was. How do it's like tuning a radio. I mean, how do I just calm this down?
Right. And like figure it out, make it sound good.
Stop being in between channels and just shush. And then, okay, now that I've heard the whole broadcast, I can turn it off and go to bed. That's what it feels like. That's what happened there. That was a very insane experience. It was very insane. It was like crazy because I only ever leave myself open and vulnerable to things that are familiar. And that was completely unfamiliar. But she figured out a way to communicate because we had so many words in common. And that's when I realized, like, it's language. Because when you're not of this world and you're not relying on language to communicate the things that you hold with you when you move on, you use those things to communicate with the things that are still here. So words that have a present, have a past, and have a future for me are words that she was sending to me so that I could listen to her.
Makes sense.
That's what that was.
I mean, absolutely. And you're not the only person that talks like that when it comes to the radio waves and stuff. And it's funny because you don't listen to other podcasts or look up ghost stuff.
No, I don't. I don't because it's like I don't want that to become the thing that absorbs me.
Right.
I am so much more than just this one thing.
But what's interesting about that is you don't divulge into any of that. You're just doing you.
Right.
But you're still using some of the same verbiage that other people who try to do the same thing are using. Mm-hmm. Radio waves. And that's what people say. They're like, you sync up with it, and when you're done, you move on. And it's words, and after certain words, I'm out. Like, you're using the same verbiage that other people that I have listened to on other shows.
Oh, really?
And just like reading stuff.
That's kind of funny.
It is, and that's what's crazy about it. It's just like you're not seeing the same stuff that I'm seeing, but you're still using the same words. It's weird.
Yeah.
But and that's what the whole point of this show is. I want to figure it out. I want to see the whole picture from everybody's point of view.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's crazy. I was going somewhere with that. Now I forget. I got distracted.
We did more here too.
Yeah, we're not done yet.
Right.
So with the apartment, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
That was the last creepy thing because after that I wanted to move.
Yeah. So we decided to move. Well, you decided to move. I didn't really care. I got annoyed at that place. But
me too. Yeah, I was ready to go. It felt so loud. It was a very loud place to live.
I just remember the guy, the dirt guy.
Yeah.
But so we decided, it's time to move on, and we were looking for houses and stuff. Well, then this house opened up.
Yes.
And it's just, we're running from your father-in-law now, or my father-in-law and your stepdad. And so we moved into this place, and not a ton has happened here.
But what has been family.
It has been. And
because I fine-tuned it, I think, to only hear.
That's fair.
Safe and familiar.
And I don't remember how it started. And here's what's going to be. This is going to be difficult for me to talk about because it involves my family.
But you were more conscious than me.
I was.
So you have to kind of...
So I don't remember how it went down. Again, we were drinking, so take that with what you will.
So here's the thing, though, that I've realized with this is that sometimes in order for me to do a lot of it, my inhibitions have to be down.
You have to down them. Absolutely.
I have to be down.
And even with this, that ghost thing with your brother happened today with the meter, and then you had a glass of wine, and you're like, well, okay. So, I mean, it's not you're, like, wasted and drunk. It's you have a drink or two.
Guard down.
Guard's a little bit more down. And I'm the same way. Like, when it comes to the ghost stuff, I'm way more open to talk about it. Even podcasting in general, with my wrestling podcast, after a drink, I'm more...
Relaxed,
open to what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
it's not... The difference between a drink or two in tripping on acid...
Right.
...is that it's a drink or two to relax my mind.
Absolutely.
It's not...
You're not getting fucked up.
Mushrooms.
Right. So you're not seeing things.
I'm not hallucinating.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So we had a few drinks that night. I don't remember how it all went down. I really don't.
But it was here.
It was here in this house that we're in right now. And it wasn't long after we had moved in.
No.
But we moved in and...
And I've realized too, with moving, you're stirring some shit up.
You are.
Because you're putting things in new places. It's like shaking the dust off.
That's also a thing that people... in my research I've talked about.
Really?
If there's like a house, if you remodel a house, stuff happens a lot more.
Because I mean, it's just you're stirring it up a little bit.
Right. If you add on to a house, it stirs shit up.
New energy being added on.
Anything that changes anything, and that includes you moving into a new place, that changes your whole. I mean, anybody. If you move into, that's your biological system. It's a proven fact that when you sleep in a new place the first time, your guard's up. You don't get the best night's sleep.
That's true.
Night. I mean, that's just a natural thing,
right?
And it holds true to you with your connection to the other side. And so I think that's probably what happened.
Part of it too. Yeah, you're right.
So we moved into a new side of it, and something I don't know how it all went down, but it ended up being you were like, "We're going to talk to your grandma right now," and I was like, "No." No, we're not. We're going to go to bed. And you're like, and I don't know how to say this in a way that makes it make sense because this is going to sound fucking insane.
Okay.
But you're like, I'm leaving now.
I said this.
You don't remember this?
No.
We never talked about it, so I don't know if you remember it or not.
I seriously, what?
Okay, so you guys are hearing this for the first time just with her. So, no, you said, I'm your grandma. You didn't say that. You said, I'm leaving now, and you left. And then you were apparently possessed by my grandma.
In my body.
Yeah, do you remember this at all?
Where were we?
In the upstairs bathroom?
It's always in the fucking bathroom.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what to tell you about that, but you remember that at all? Now, dude, you tranced the fuck out. And you sat down and your eyes were closed. Your eyes were not open at all. And you said, what do you want? You said, what? You said, ask me anything you want to ask me. That's what you said. Ask me anything you want to ask me. And I was like, I don't know what that means. Because I wasn't drunk at all. I was not drunk.
You were sober?
I was sober.
Okay.
I was like,
I drunk?
Not that drunk. If you were, maybe you had I had a couple of beers. So you probably had a couple of beers. No, I was very sober. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I was very, my typical self.
Skeptical.
Annoyed. Yeah, I was annoyed. I was like, at first I thought you were just being nuts, And, no, you were like, ask me, what do you want to hear? But you had this smile on your face that it was, because your eyes were closed, but you had this smile. I don't know. That's how it looked.
But it wasn't me?
No, you weren't. And you were just like, ask me. And I was like, ask you what? You're like, well, ask me anything. I don't remember how you introduced yourself as my grandma. I don't remember that. But, I don't remember. But I don't know. I was like, so are you my grandma? And you were like, yes. I was like, well, when did you die? And you're like, in 2001. I was like, what the fuck? So I was like, again, I wasn't drunk. I wasn't like ready to deal with any of that stuff. So I was like, I don't know what to ask you. So I was just trying to like, well, fuck it. Like, am I your favorite grandkid? But it's like joking. And you were like, you can't ask me that, but you did stand out. I was like, I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what to do with that,
That's so weird.
Like, he was like, you can't ask me that. That's what he said with that fucking grin on your face and your eyes closed. Like, you can't ask me that. Like, and you said like that. He's like, you can't. Like, you chuckled. You can't ask me that, but you did stand out. I was like, I don't know what that means. I was like at that point, and then that's pretty much it. Like, I was like, we're not.
We're done.
I'm not talking to my fucking wife, grandmother possessed. I'm not dealing with that. Like, this isn't
my life.
No. So I bounced it. Whatever that was, I ended it.
Okay.
But that's what you said. You said with that fucking grin on your face and your eyes closed, you said, you can't ask me that, but you did stand out.
See, I don't remember that at all. I remember... I thought you were going to talk about the time... Was it your uncle or your grandpa? I remember that more. I remember that.
I remember you saying you were talking to Bob, which is my dad's brother.
Yes.
That was more you telling me than me saying anything else.
That I remember more. And maybe that's just because I feel him a lot, but I remember that more.
Yeah, so my dad's brother is named Bob, and he actually brought up at dinner last night. But he died when I was like 2.
Yeah.
And yeah.
They did bring him up. They did, because I tried not to listen.
Right.
Because I didn't want that.
I was thinking that when my dad started bringing him up, I'm like, it's going to get weird.
Yeah.
But
because he always wants me to talk to your dad, but I tried to talk to him at Christmas and he didn't want to hear it. He started talking about the race. He did the same thing that you do. He dismisses it. Very dismissive. So I
tried talking to him a little bit about the ghost stuff, and he won't.
He doesn't want to hear it.
No.
He doesn't want to hear it. But his brother wants to talk to him.
I believe it. But yeah, so he brings him up all the time. But yeah, so that happened last night even. But yeah, so you brought him up because you're saying that your dad... Somebody wants to talk to your dad right now. I don't remember how it went down.
Yeah, because they were here when they had left.
Is that when they brought the butter and stuff?
Popcorn machine.
Yeah.
And the butter. Yeah. Yes, it is.
So I remember that night you brought that up.
Yes.
And that was more you than it was me. You were bringing it up.
But he just kept... It's like an anxiety, So if you don't actualize what is happening and it's pulling on you, it leads to kind of a panic.
Right.
It's like...
Well, they get stressed out.
Yes, because it's like, can't you hear me? Can't you hear me? And it's like they're pounding on you. Like, hey.
Right. Well, how aggravated I get when I'm trying to tell you something.
And I'm ignoring you.
And you just you don't get what I'm saying. So I'm just like, fuck it,
Right. So imagine that. But imagine you can only talk to the one person that can hear you. Out of everybody.
That's like the last chance, right?
This is the only person that can hear me. And they can hear me, but they're not fucking listening. And they're not fucking saying what I want them to say. So they might hear me. But they're just ignoring me. They're not acknowledging me at all. So I know that they can hear me. They know they can hear me.
It's aggravating.
And nobody can see me.
Yeah, I get pissy when that happens when people ignore me.
It's so awful. Imagine being in a room full of crowded people and yanking on somebody's sleeve, and they won't turn around.
Right.
And you're yanking, and you're yanking, and you're yanking, and you're jarring that person, and they are physically shaking in front of you, but they won't look at you. That's that feeling that I get. That's that feeling I got that woman gave me. That's the feeling that I get sometimes from your uncle.
Right.
Not everybody is calm. Some people are very full of...
No, I feel
nervous energy.
My family has a lot of nervous energy.
They do. I mean, and you're kind of full of nervous energy at times. So I could see that being like a hereditary thing.
Sure.
But he very much wants your dad to hear him. And I think it's the same thing like how you want to be heard to your siblings.
Sure.
It's just a thing. And he wants to be heard. And he wants his brother to know. That he's here, that he loves him, whatever
he wants to say.
Whatever he wants to say. I mean, he doesn't...
he
this is not the platform for that, but he
right.
wants it to be known. And there are times when he pulls at me so hard, and it's that warm... Kind of how we tried to explain that in the last episode. It feels very warm and ingratiating. It's like slipping into a bubble bath, what they want to say, and that peace of mind that they're giving to you... You want that person that's supposed to receive the message to feel that relaxed, but they don't. They're very taken aback because here's this person who doesn't understand that intimacy.
Right.
who doesn't understand that vulnerability, who doesn't know you that way, trying to tell you.
I mean, shit, I don't know him. You don't know him at all.
Fuck no, I don't.
Yeah.
But you don't want to hear the sweet, comforting, soft, nurturing things from somebody that you do not have that relationship with.
Right.
You don't. Because
not at all.
when you do, you get offended by it. You're like,
Sure.
fuck you. Do I look weak to you? Get the fuck out of my face.
Absolutely.
Fuck off.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, let's say, I'm gonna put it in my dad's perspective here. Like, let's say I have a kid, and then the girl that he's dating comes to my house and is like, "Hey."
Your brother talks to me.
That's fucking weird, right?
Your like 50 years dead brother
Yeah,
talks to me.
It's been a minute. Not 50. He died when I was still alive, so
Oh,
30.
all right.
30 years.
Fine. Your 30 years dead sibling is talking to me to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. And I think that happened too. There was a time where a person who I know, I'll tell this whole story later on down the road, but a person I know was like, "Hey, do you have an uncle named Paul Christopher?" And I was like, yeah. He's like, "Well, he's talking to me right now. That's fucking weird." Well, I told my dad that, and he was like, "That's interesting." And then he told his sister that, which was her husband, and she didn't really take to it.
She didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, and it's like,
that's the thing that offends people though, is like that would have been her husband, right?
Right.
So it would have been like you talking to our like nephews,
random
friends,
ass, exactly.
right? Like it.
I mean, it's weird.
It would be very disconcerting, and that would upset you. But here's the thing that I've realized when it comes to this, and I think this is what makes me unique. I want to hear from the people that are close to me. I want to hear from my family. I want to hear from my friends. I want to hear from the familiars. But what a lot of people end up doing that have this opportunity is they do the opposite. They think that they're crazy. So in order for them not to be crazy, they want to hear from complete strangers and not their family.
That's me. Yeah.
That's you.
Because it closes you off. It's not personal.
It's not personal.
And anything that's not personal is easy.
So, exactly. So, it's easy for a stranger to come and talk to you. So, that is why situations like that arrive where Paul Christopher is going to go talk to a nephew's friend rather than his wife.
Somebody that's connected. I mean, it's about being connected. Because,
Right.
My family's
It's his
not...
nephew's friend, but it's not his wife. But his wife probably heard him and didn't want to hear
won't
him.
hear it. Exactly. So, this whole, like, well, how can I get my message across now?
My nephew's friend.
Who's the closest I can get to do it?
Right.
And it just turned out to be the person who I knew, who would tell me, who would tell him, who would tell her.
Right. And that's what it is.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I'm the opposite because I'm like, talk to me. And they're like, oh, shit, well, you're my sister. I'll fucking talk to you all day.
It's crazy.
Or your family was very eager to have a sounding board for me. Because, I am... So I'm your wife, but I'm also your dad's daughter-in-law. And they just saw this gateway.
Exactly. And that makes sense. Because, like,
it was acknowledgement for the first time ever.
Sure.
And they get it a little bit. I think what they get from your oldest sister is...
And her name's Abby. She'll be on the show. But the thing with her is
she gets belief. They get belief from her.
Right.
From the middle sister, they get no acknowledgement whatsoever. They get disbelief.
Well, but like Abby remembers him. Well, I do not, and I'm not sure if family does or not. But so it's harder probably for Abby. The same reason that's harder for me to talk about my grandma.
Because what happens is when you remember somebody in the physical form, is you're holding on to the physical.
Right.
Whereas, like with you're kind of a looser cannon, because what you get is the spiritual. Your interactions are very fluid.
Well, I've never really felt connected to any of my dad's side of the family.
Spiritual is not the right word. What am I saying here? The radio waves, though.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Just the waves.
The waves, because you're not tied down to a memory.
Right.
Whereas Abby is.
That's correct.
Abby has memories.
So it's hard, right.
Because what she sees is these physical things, whereas you don't see, you feel.
Right.
That's what that is. And with me being open because I want to hear from my family, what they hear is family, connection, boom, bam. Your family is very loud. I hear them a lot.
People say that. Yeah.
I mean,
that's fair.
It's true. It's true. Like the frantic, there's like they're very present.
Right.
Your family is very present. They're very quietly loud.
I believe that. I mean, that's how we are when we're alive. So I'm sure it's the same after.
It's not. They don't shout people down, but they're very assertive.
I understand that, and I never really felt. But I'm very easily closed off as well.
You are.
Like when it comes to like Uncle Bob, I maybe have felt him. I felt things. I feel things a lot, but I'm also at the same time I feel it, and then I shut that shit down.
I only ever feel him in terms of your dad.
Sure, when he's around.
I feel him very much with your dad.
Yeah, I get that.
I do. And it's funny because I remember that feeling I had. I explained that to you. After Caleb passed away, when I would walk into a room and people, when you come in pairs, after your pair dives, they still expect the pair.
Right.
And then they catch themselves expecting the pair, and then you see that whole experience on their face.
Absolutely.
And then you die a little inside because, hey, great, I'm just a reminder of what you don't have, and there's this, and it's wonderful, and yay me. I think your dad carries that around a lot.
I'm sure.
I see that relationship in him. I also see him trying to carry the room, which is what I try to do sometimes. In certain settings, I try to carry the room. I try to make everybody comfortable.
Right.
I want everybody to have fun. I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to be connected. That's what he wants too. Maybe a little more awkwardly.
Well, that's I'm awkward too.
Right.
Shit
but
happens.
That's what he does, and I think it's just overcompensating for the loss of his other half.
That makes absolute sense.
Right.
I mean, that's the only way to describe that.
But I feel him with his brother
all the time.
God out.
Yeah, when they grew up together, sure, yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I lost my sibling, my brother.
Same idea.
And
early.
that I feel that it's very palpable. It's an energy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel it a lot, and I don't know that. But I remember talking to him more. I don't remember talking to your grandpa, but I remember talking to him. Did I talk to your grandpa too? I feel like I talked to your grandfather.
You brought him up one time. I don't remember it that well.
It was piggybacking off of talking to your uncle.
Yeah, it was one time.
Because they both came through together.
And I thought it was weird when you brought him up, because that was not that long ago, actually. And I thought it was weird when you brought him up, because we've been together for a while at that point, and you've talked about my grandma and Bob, but you never talked about him.
And I never felt close to him ever. I still don't feel close to him.
I never have.
But that one time he wanted to be heard very badly. He wanted to be heard.
Yeah, I thought it was weird. That's the only time. That's the one. It was like not that long ago when you brought him up. I kind of dismissed it because it didn't make any sense to me.
Didn't matter.
Yeah, it was
You
like
didn't want to hear it.
I mean, it's just no. It just wasn't something that has happened.
Yeah.
Like you brought up my dad's brother Bob a lot,
Right.
and you brought up my grandma a lot, but that was the one and only time you brought him up.
That's the one and only time I felt him.
Yeah.
He feels kind of like Galen's dad does, where it's man of few words, but those words matter.
Well, that's all he was. I mean, he was the guy. It sounds like it's interesting to learn. I'm still learning about him. I don't know a whole lot, but like he was an adult. He was drafted in World War II after Pearl Harbor.
Right.
And he served as a gunner. He was a mechanic on a bomber plane. And then he had kids late. Like he was an older guy when he had my dad. Like he was in his 40s or 50s when he had my dad.
Yeah.
So he was just an old dude before he produced. So like he was just, he's just an old school guy,
Your dad remembers him dying.
Oh, he does. I know the story. He had a heart attack on the table. He said in the house that I grew up in, it was the house that he built. And that house is going to be talked about on this show.
What strikes me, though, since, you're going to get to that, we'll talk about my memory.
Right.
Since I'm here now. Your dad talked about it a lot with his heart attack.
Sure.
His last heart attack.
We bring him up out of nowhere.
What's interesting to me, though, is my memories of talking to your grandfather and your dad's brother were before his heart attack. His last heart attack.
Oh, yeah. Is that
Or
right?
no, it was in the aftermath of his heart attack.
I gotcha.
So they were very much around during his healing process, and they very much wanted to be heard because I only ever felt close to them when he was here in our home.
They both died of the same thing. They both died of heart attacks.
Right. And after your dad had his last heart attack, they were kind of like wounded soldiers.
I feel like they were kind of done with it. And that's why like my dad's still living after 3.
Yeah.
That
They were
makes
like,
sense.
hey,
You're
Enough's enough.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I died from this shit. I died from this shit. You're not
dying from this shit.
This is stupid.
You're going to go on a different way.
Right.
And I think that's why you're taking your health more seriously, too. But they were very present in that forefront. And then after all of them, I think I also talked to my mom.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what all else I've done.
There's a lot.
It's a lot of stuff, yeah. I talked to my mom, which is very intimate.
I mean, yeah, and that's pretty much where we're at when it comes to like the direct stories.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That pretty much covers it.
It does.
That's pretty solid. So I think that's going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. We're going to have you back.
You think?
I think. I think you like this more than you'll claim.
Probably.
So we'll have you back. That's going to go ahead and wrap up episode 3 of Paranormal Activities. I just say it that way so I don't like run it together. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, follow me on Facebook. You can just search my name. I don't care. Ben Axe. You can follow me on... actually, I'm Chuck Winchester on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter at Ben Axe. Again, not yet an email set up, but there will be soon. Be ready. And then you can directly email me if you want to ask me questions or tell me stories or tell me how dumb I am. Whatever. That's fine. And also listen to my other podcast, Regularly Scheduled Hostilities, which is a wrestling podcast. If you like wrestling, you can find Dena back with myself at the Moose Point podcast, which is fun.
Yeah.
That goes back to 2017.
It does.
So again, I hope you all enjoyed it, and keep listening. It's gonna get weird. It's gonna get weird. Yeah, it'll get weird. So keep listening, and we're gonna keep learning what is going on together.